Hey everyone, either welcome back or welcome to my channel. And in today's video, I want to talk about why IIH and migraines are so much more than a headache and talk about how they are so much more than just a headache. So before I get into any more details, time for the intro. As I have mentioned many times, IIH and migraines are way more than a headache. But to illustrate this further, I want to share the symptoms that I get with both IIH and the symptoms that I get with migraines and just paint a broader picture about how these conditions are so much more than a headache. I don't think people really understand the amount of symptoms that you can experience with migraines. I was thinking back to when my IIH was at its worst and what symptoms I experienced the most. And I'm going to now name just a few of them. These aren't all of the symptoms. They're just some symptoms I could come up with on the spot, but probably won't be all of them. So with IIH, double vision or blurred vision, the double vision actually was the initial symptom that really gave me the alarms that something was definitely wrong and that it wasn't stress. The double vision is the symptom that kept me pushing to get a diagnosis because obviously it was really debilitating while I was in school trying to study with that. And actually, I thought the double vision was the result of why, if I was getting any headaches, I was having headaches. I thought it was the reason why I was having trouble concentrating, because when you're seeing two of everything all of the time, you just expect it to be hard to concentrate. So it was the double vision that kept me going back to the doctors and made it really clear that there was something else going on. Now, I only have double vision occasionally. It's usually when I'm either really tired, I'm experiencing a flare-up, or for some reason when I'm in a moving vehicle on the highway is really the only times I still have double vision. At least sometimes have double vision. Even the one on the highway is starting to get better actually, but it's still sometimes a problem. This might surprise you, but muscle aches and pain. So in the months leading up to my diagnosis, which I have shared before, I had severe calf pain. It's very similar to the type of pain that you get when you haven't stretched after working out. So it feels like you've overused your muscles. However, it didn't go away, and what made it go away was having my lumbar puncture done. It's only returned occasionally, but the thing is that it's always went away again over the past few times that I have experienced it. I got really, really nervous actually I don't know, it was about maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago now. I must have injured my calf muscles, but it felt the exact same way for about a week. The difference is that this time it got better. And obviously when I get calf pain like that again, it makes me really nervous, because the last time I had calf pain like that, the only thing that actually helped was having the lumbar puncture done. And I've talked about that story so much, it should be pretty obvious now as to why I wouldn't readily get another lumbar puncture. Dizziness, I talk about this all of the time, that dizziness was one of the biggest symptoms that I had when my IIH was most active. Now, it was a dizziness in the way that there was uneasiness, so it felt like you could never get your balance. But then there was also the vertigo too, where the room would start spinning. It wouldn't last for very long, but anytime you have vertigo, it's a very scary feeling, to be honest. Pulsatile tinnitus. I have a whole video on pulsatile tinnitus and my experience with that. One of the weirdest symptoms that I actually had was an intense thirst. This intense thirst was probably the reason why I was tested for diabetes for at least 3 times leading up to my diagnosis. It was intense, and it led to drinking a ton of water and also having to pee all of the time. I had trouble keeping my balance. Sometimes I can actually tell how bad I'm feeling in a day based upon how bad my balance is. So if I'm really having trouble with balance, I know that even if I don't maybe have a headache that day that's really intense, that usually that there's an increase in other symptoms. Fullness in the ears is another one. So it often feels like you need to have your ears cleaned out of wax. It just feels like your ears are plugged all of the time. Honestly, I sometimes still have that symptom when my head gets really bad and I'm not feeling well. It can be hard to tell whether it's earwax or whether it's an actual fullness in the ears, because it feels relatively the same, and my ears do seem to get blocked quite easily. And then another big one was neck stiffness and neck tightness, which I feel can be either migraines or IIH at this point. I've described it before, but my neck, when I start to get a headache, muscles will tighten right up. And then, like I said, it's hard to move your head like this. And I actually sometimes too, even when my neck isn't maybe as sore, it can still sometimes be really difficult to do this. And I try not to whip my head around actually too much, because I still find that it makes me feel a little bit uneasy in my stomach. These are the symptoms that I could come up that I could definitely attribute to the IIH, because these were symptoms that I was experiencing in those months prior to being diagnosed with IIH. As you will see, there's a lot of them that overlap. So that's why it's really difficult for me to actually tell, okay, this is definitely a migraine symptom and this is definitely an IIH symptom. The only way I would know for sure is to no longer have IIH, or if I had migraines before I was diagnosed with IIH. Honestly, these could be either or. Just a important note that I may be actually getting some of these wrong as to which ones these actually belong to. But the whole point of this video is to say these are all the symptoms that I experience besides the actual headache. With migraines, so vision changes again. So I've had, I think, double vision occasionally. I think I've had even blurred vision or just unable to focus. I've gotten really achy when I've had migraines, but again, because this is a symptom that I've experienced with IIH, this could have been IIH as well. Neck stiffness and tightness. So I've had a lot of neck stiffness over the last few months, and because of the way my IIH is going and how well I seem to be doing with that, I'm convinced that this is a symptom actually of both. Fatigue is another one. Now, this is also with IIH. I had an incredibly bad fatigue, but fatigue is something that I definitely experience with migraines. For me, with migraines, the fatigue often occurs after the migraine has actually passed, so in that post-drome phase of the migraine. Sensitivity to light is another big one with migraines. This is actually something I don't actually find with IIH as much. So with IIH, my head feels like it's about to pop off my head, but there's not a similar light sensitivity as what I get with the migraines, where I've actually had trouble staying awake during some of my worst migraine episodes. Also, when I have a migraine, it can be almost impossible to be on social media or using my devices, editing video. It pretty much makes me unable to do anything but lie down and rest. Another one is soreness on the head besides the actual headache. So I've talked about having sore spots with both IIH and migraines before, and I still have this sore spot on my head. I often use ice when that gets really bad. It's not as bad as what it used to be, but it's still definitely a thing. A general feeling of just feeling unwell too when you're about to go into a period of either a migraine or a flare-up in IIH symptoms. So I honestly don't know the best way to describe this. It's just a general feeling of just not feeling very good, kind of like maybe when you're getting a virus or something. Because when you get a virus, often you have muscle aches, but without the fever. As you can see, there's a lot more symptoms with both than just the actual headache. It's a whole body experience that we often go through when we have IIH and migraines. And it's so important to understand this because it's a full body experience. There's so much more going on than just the headache. And the other symptoms can be just as bad, if not worse, than the actual headache itself. So the next time that you have somebody in your family who's experiencing a migraine, just understand that what they're experiencing is far more than just a headache. Basically, understanding that migraines and IIH are more than just a headache leads to a better understanding and better communication between the parties involved. If you are enjoying my content, please feel free to subscribe. When you subscribe, you actually help me reach more people with IIH and migraines. Remember that it's completely free. It just allows us to reach more people with IIH and migraines. If you enjoy this particular video, be sure to give it a like. Also, when you hit that subscription button, don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss any of my upcoming future content. If you're watching this on Facebook or Instagram, be sure to like and follow. And as for now, that's it for today. Bye everyone.